name's Molly and I'm going to show you how to make a hand crocheted oven mitt, or oven cloth, really, or a single stitch crocheted blanket. Now I mostly do this before I go to bed because it is relaxing and very calming and doesn't really take much to do once you learn how. I'm going to show you 4 steps. I'm going to teach you how to make a knot, which is very simple. I'm going to teach you how to move, how to make a first row, then I'm going to teach you how to make the second row, and that will repeat until you are done. And after that, I'm going to teach you how to, if you want, make different colors. So, the first thing you need is string. It can be any color, any size. You're going to need a crochet hook. I'm using a 5.5mm. There's some people in what I call advanced crocheting, crochet with the hands in this giant blanket. You can find them on Amazon for $98. Very cozy. You can use any color or any type of yarn you want. So, first we have the yarn. We are going to have the hook facing towards your face. You're going to push the hook around until you have, it just looks like it's dangling. You're going to tie this little bit here, wrap it around twice, and then as you can see, you have somewhat, it looks like a twisted knot, but it's not. You're going to wrap, holding it like this, you're going to wrap it where the yarn is in front and you're going to pull. Now that is going to catch, the yarn is going to catch in the hook spot and it's going to go inside the little knot you made so far. Depending on how small you make it, it will turn out like this. Personally, I like it loose because it means it's not going to wind up, sadly, like a very tiny and curly one. This was the first thing I've made. Then, after you have completed that, you're going to take the yarn again and you're going to make another loop. See how I have a little tiny bit there? You're going to continue this until how many ever ones you want. I'm going to say 30 for me. So I have 5 so far. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and I'm not going to continue counting them out loud, but you can count them out loud to keep track if you want. Six, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Now that you have 30 of these, it kind of looks like a braid, but it's not. Alright, this is the second part where you're going to make the second row. You're going to do like you're about to make another chain, like this. Instead, you're going to take that chain and you're going to put it through the first loop. Now, you can either have it, because there's only one loop right now, you're just making it into one complete chain, which you can see in here. This right here is one complete chain. Now there's only one so far, not two. So you're going to put it through the second one. And you're going to take that rope and pull it through both of them. And you're going to do that again. And as you can tell, it's starting to make a full chain. And a full chain will look thick compared to what you have now. I'm going to take a minute, show you what I've gotten so far. See how that's thick? It's kind of fluffy as well. You want it a little fluffy, you don't want it thin tight. The thinner and tighter it is, it's the harder it is going to be able to make. You're going to try. It's really hard to try to push a needle through this little tiny thing. It's very difficult, I will tell you. Unless you use really tiny thin string, I recommend you make your loops nice and loose. How you make them loose is you have this part, it's a little bit loose, and then you have this loose. See how that you can pull and you have a little bit of room? And you slowly pull it through. And it's not very tight like you pull on it or anything. It's very loose and very relaxed. The more you relaxed you are, the more relaxed your blanket or oven cloth will be. Now there's multiple other things you can make. You can make scarves. That's probably the easiest because it's about 30 long when it comes to chain, and it's about 4 feet. Yes, 4 feet. Because you want them to be able to wrap it around their neck over and over. Makes it nice and toasty. If you want, you can take a moment to pause so that you can fully have your chain done. I'm just going to fast forward through this little part anyway. Almost done with this little tiny bit of a chain. Now, depending on how you are, you can either go in an over loop or under loop. But for me, you can go either way. I go over and under, and it does not really damage it at all. Okay, I'm at the very end, and it's exactly where I first started, that first knot. You do want to go into that first knot so it is a consistent size and it doesn't thin in or burst out, because I have done some projects where it has thinned into a triangle, and that's never good. Now, I I've got it all the way connected, and this is what it should look like. Sometimes you might get a little bit of stringiness to it, but it is a consist pattern, and this is called single stitch. There's multiple different kinds of stitches. You can have triangle stitch, which is where you do 7 down and 4 up, and it basically makes a triangle. Or that's for the inner one, or for the outer triangle where it's going this way instead of this way, is you want 7 up, 4 down. So you're having a little extra room up top. But we're doing a single stitch. But with this single stitch, we're going to add a little bit of a pattern to it. We're going to first make the second row 1, 2, 3. So we have that little gap. And then we're going to go into the back. Not both, back. And we're going to create the pattern there. I recommend you pull out your string ahead of time, otherwise it can become a big mess. I've made it where it's not, but it looks very messy. As you can see, I'm just doing the same thing I did for that second row, but I'm going in from the back. And if you can tell already, it's creating a little bit of a pattern. It's like a ladder, but in the between part, there is a new kind of texture design. You'll see it when you are doing it repeatedly a couple more rows, and I will show you then again. I'm going in from the back, looping it around and taking both. You can rewind and go back if you have missed a step, or if you don't think it looks like this, you can go and rewind, or you can pause the video and see if you can fix it. Once you've gotten to the second row, it doesn't seem that long, and it won't take as long for you to get back to it as you did on the first time. Okay, so I'm at the end of my second row, and just gonna tug on it a little bit just to get it where it's not too loose but not too tight. And I'm going to do the same thing. 1, 2, oh, sometimes when you make them a little loose, they do fall out. 3, just 3. But here, the first part here is not gonna count as anything. It's gonna be counted as 0. So you go 0, 1, 2, 3. Then, see how I was doing it from this way? You're gonna flip it. Always when you do a new row, you flip it. Go into the first knot. You do that. You might see it a little bit loose than you might want it to be, but honestly, that's how it's supposed to be. You can tighten it up if you want. I recommend it to be loose. And you're going to repeat of what you did with the second row. You're just going to repeat and repeat and repeat until you have a finished cloth. Like I said before, you are going in through the back, not both. As you can tell, the pattern is now being able to see more. You have this little bit of an edge, and it's going to come up on this side now because you flipped it. So each row you're going to make, it's going to have one edge side and one non-edge side. It's a repeat of that. Sometimes when you can't see it, you want to pull on it just a little bit, and you tuck yourself in. I recommend you don't tuck it in up front when you have the hook. Don't tuck it up, but tuck it under. It helps you from catching unwanted string from getting in from what you want. Now we are at the end of the third row. Third row. And it kind of looks like a very complicated braid. This side has a texture pattern to it, and so does this side. Now we are looking at it as if like this. I'm going to show you how to add a second color. Now, what you want to do is you want to make the hooks as if you were going into another row, but with a different color. So do you have 0, 1, 2, 3. Now you're going to take this one apart, but you have enough room to keep it not too snug, not too unsnug. Now the string I'm using is kind of easy to rip, so I don't need a pair of scissors, but I recommend while you want to do this, you get a pair of scissors. Now me, I like color in my designs, so I'm taking blue. And basically, while you have the hook, you're going to hold the hook in this hand or whatever non-dominant hand you have, and you're going to take the 2 strings and you're just basically going to tie them in a very small knot, just enough to make sure they don't fall apart. And recommend you have it close to the needle so that when time comes when you're done, you can just cut off the excess string. But I recommend until you are finished, you do not take that off, because you do not know if it's going to stay on there or not. So I'm wrapping the green around the blue, letting the blue hang a little, and I'm just pulling it through. It's very simple, just tie knot. Very tiny, just enough to connect them. I'm going to do it again because I can feel it sliding. So 2 knots. You want to make sure it's in the right place. So if you have to, maneuver your hands however it is, but get that second knot on top of the first. And if you don't, get it as close as possible. See how it's not pulling anymore? That's exactly what you want. Alright, now that you have that, you're going to flip it around again, so the needle is always in your dominant hand and never on this side of your hand. Always in the dominant. And you're always going this way instead of this way. So you have your 3 hooks, and then you do the same thing just as you were doing with it before. And you'll see how those 2 strings will gradually get into your system, but the next row will start off with blue. Sometimes you're going to have to move these a little, just in the back, so they're not in your way. You can tell how they are, it's gradually getting in. It's like that first row we did when we were first making this. As you can tell, it's a little stretchy, but it kind of shrunk a little. That's because it's coming together. A little shrinking is not too bad, but a lot of shrinking, if you don't do it properly, like I did the first time I ever tried crocheting, I tried to make a blanket with 150 stitches, and it turned out to be this little tiny curly flower. I don't have it with me, but it was quite funny. Because I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden, it just kept on shrinking and shrinking and shrinking until it was all shriveled up to the point where I couldn't put my hooks in it. So I just tied it together and said, hey, it's a flower. But I learned from that, and I was able to make this, which I still continue to learn. As you can tell, it's not completely even. It's a little bit crooked, and at the end it got a little bit more loose and a little bit more wavy and rounded. want it more as a square, not round. If you get it to round, it's going to curl like a flower, like this. Don't want it curly, unless for more complicated designs, you can do that. But as you can tell, it has progressed inside. So it looks like a fourth chain, but it's not. It is like, first, one chain is this, which is basically one thicker one, how we began with. And here we are coming down to the end of this, and we are just going to attach it to this last green, and you have no more green to attach it to. And this is the first part. And show you one more time. 0, 1, 2, 3. Now you will be able to complete this, repeat this until you are done. When you are done, all you have to do is just rip off that little part where there's a good amount, say this amount from the needle. You're going to just double knot it until it does not pull anymore. And you will have a complete one of these. Or if you want to challenge yourself for a little bit more difficult, you will have a complete blanket. Now I have done many different colors, just blue, green, and red. And this it's not terribly big, but it's about 500 to 600 first knots. And this is a lap blanket, not a full on your bed blanket. You can do that, you'll just need a lot more yarn. Now I'm not complete with this one, as you can tell. I am still working on it. I have a little bit of this row to do, and then I will be completely done with it, because this is the 16th row of this color. But yes, that is how you create a lap blanket or a oven cloth. Thank you very much, and I hope this is very helpful to you. And if somehow in that imaginary mind we have an apocalypse somehow, that this will be useful for you and you can make your own clothing and blanket. Bye.